Okay, this is a complete beginner's guide to Kahoot 2023. I've been lucky enough to have done a couple of courses with the Kahoot team. I'm going to show you how to create an account, how to find the free account. I'm then going to take you through a really quick demo and show you what the students see and what the teachers see. I'm then going to create a Kahoot with you in the free version. We'll quickly test that Kahoot. I'm then going to show you how you can take Kahoots from other teachers and make use of those and play those with your students. And then finally, I'm going to show you a feature that they didn't originally have, which is the option to actually do a Kahoot for homework. So we're going to start right from the beginning with Kahoot because it's important that you get the correct type of account. So when you click on sign up to Kahoot, the option that you really want to choose is as a teacher. Okay, so click on teacher to create a teacher account, and then it asks you to describe your school. So I'm going to choose higher education, and I'm actually going to log in with my Google account. So I'm going to click on Google and just log in using my Google account. It makes it easier for me. So make sure that you do that because you're going to get the best option if you choose the teacher account and not any of the others. Now the next page you come to is this, and notice that it looks like you can't actually have a free account, but that isn't so. If you scroll down, you'll notice that you do have the choice, and I have to come right down if I remember rightly, of just working with the basic features. Okay, so click here. That should allow you to work with only the basic features, and you can have up to 10 players. Now would be a good time to really explain to you how Kahoot works. If we click on play demo game, I'll try to explain to you how Kahoot works. Basically, what happens is students will log in to Kahoot using some type of device, either their computer, their smartphone, or a tablet. The teacher will start a new game, and that game, when it starts, will have a pin. The students then, so we've got here the student view, and here we've got the teacher view. The students write in the pin number. So the teacher needs to project the screen so that the students in the classroom, or if you're doing it in Zoom, then in Zoom as well, you'll need to project this screen so that the students can clearly see what pin number to add in. When they add in their pin number, the next thing they'll need to do is to add in their name. So I'm just going to put in my name now and click on OK. Now you can see that the first person has joined. Now the teacher would wait until everybody is in the room and then start the game. So the student's now waiting for everybody to log in. Let's imagine now that everyone is logged in. The teacher clicks on this button and the game starts. Now what happens is certain questions come onto the screen and the student has to choose the best answer. So watch for the first question, it's worth double points. Finish this famous movie quote, life is like a box of chocolates. Okay, so the students now can look at the screen, so the teacher must project this screen and choose whether the answer is, well, they've got 4 choices, okay? And I'm going to click on this one here. And then immediately the students get their feedback, and notice that the teacher can also now project this onto the screen. Remember, the students are looking at their screen that the teacher is projecting, for example, onto a whiteboard, but they are holding in their hand their device where they're answering the questions. So the students can now see what the correct answer is, and they can see whether or not they got the answer wrong or right. So the students are always kind of looking at their device and then looking up at the screen to look at the questions and also to get the feedback. When you click on the next button, you get like a scoreboard, and that shows you who is top out of all the students, who's performing well, and it also will give you some information about who's been doing well recently. So you always get a scoreboard before you then can click on the button that will take you to the next question. The next question comes on to the screen. this one's worth double points. Okay, and again the students can read the question on the screen, so the teacher needs to be, and then the students have to choose whether or not this is right or wrong. They click on the button. Again, I got the answer incorrect. Again, on the screen there's a summary of all of the answers of all of the students, but in this case there's only one summary because there's only me playing. But if there was 20 people or 10 people, then they would all show here. Again, the teacher clicks on the next button. It gives you the scoreboard, and again, if there were more students, they would all be here on the scoreboard. The teacher then clicks next. Now I'm going to exit the game at this point, and to do that all I need to do is to click on exit, and the teacher will end the game and we come back here. I think it's now time for us to actually create a Kahoot, and that's actually very easy to do. If you're looking for more variety, I would recommend wordwall.net. It offers many more activity types than Kahoot, and I will put a video link on the screen now if you're interested in learning about that technology. Otherwise, now we're going to move on and actually create a Kahoot. Okay, to create a Kahoot, then you simply need to click on this button here, create, and we're going to do Kahoot. And we're going to create a new Kahoot. The one that we're going to work with is just a simple Kahoot, so we're going to click on here. We don't have the other alternatives anyway, and now it's time to begin to add our question. Notice that we can click here to add a question. We can add media in, so the way that this works in fact is the first question is available on the screen here. We can type our question here, so I'm going to, for example, work with the question, what is the capital of England? Okay, so written in my question. We'll just do a few questions. Notice that it is possible to insert media. Let's see if that's possible. So if I click on here, then I can grab pictures, and I'm going to, for example, I'm going to search for London and see if anything comes up for London, which would be good to help the teachers to work that out. And yes, there is, so that's great. So we'll click on this button here, okay, and then we can write our answers in here. So we're going to write London, and then we'll do Paris, and then we'll do Madrid, and we'll do Beijing. And you need to indicate which is the correct answer, so click on here to indicate which is the correct answer. Now notice when you create the question that you do have the option here of a few settings that are quite useful. One of them is, as I've mentioned to you, there is a kind of gaming element to this. So you can say, okay, this particular question is double points, okay? And you can, for example, limit the number of seconds to answer the questions, and 20 is more or less the standard. And normally I like 20 seconds. A nice trick is to speed up the Kahoots as you as they get more familiar with the activity. The other thing is, notice that you can have multiple answers, and we'll look at that in the next question that we create. So we're going to add a second question, and we click on add question to add a second question. Notice straight away that you are limited to either a quiz question, that's with 4 possible answers, or true or false. All these other types are only available if you are working with the paid technology, if you're working with a paid version of Kahoot. So this time I'm going to choose true or false. And I'm going to point out something else that's interesting here. Just as a really quick example, if I was to click to add some more media, and let's write the word wordwall. Okay, so I want to put in a picture of wordwall, and I'm going to press on enter. And in fact, it might not even come up because it probably doesn't. Okay, so that's not going to be a very good example. Let me just do it in fact, but I can still show you exactly what I mean. Notice here now that it's star. You are actually limited by the number of images that you can use on their system if you have the free account. However, what you can do is click on upload image and use images that you've got. And I'm just going to grab an image from my desktop. I think I've got an image of a wordwall icon, so I'm going to click on that, click on open, and then that will now be placed on the screen. So what happens inevitably is that you do need to use your own images rather than images that are provided by Kahoot, simply because we're working with the free account. So this is a webinar tool. True or false? Okay, and of course the answer is that that is false. I'm going to put only 10 seconds for that question, and I'm going to have the standard number of points, and we're quite happy with that. Now we can add something called slides, and slides can provide information before a question, and I'm just going to show you how you can do that. So, is it possible to add a slide in the free tool? I'm going to click on Add Slide, and it looks like we can add a classic slide only. That's the only option. And a classic slide basically allows us to have a picture and include some text. So I'm going to insert some media, and this time the media that I'm going to include again is going to be from my computer, and this time I'm going to include a picture of YouTube. So I'm going to click here on that and click on Open. That's added onto the screen, and then my information, because a slide is not a question, it's actually information, is going to be it is possible to create a YouTube account for free. Okay, or in fact a YouTube channel would be the better word, so I'll change that to YouTube channel for free. Okay, so you notice then that you are able to add in a very basic presentation, and notice that you've got various layouts here, but we can only use the classic. We're not allowed in the free tool to use anything else. There are alternatives to Kahoot that offer more in the basic package, and an interesting one is called Socrative, because it actually has a kind of race type of activity as well, so it's a little bit more gamified. If you want to learn more about Socrative, I've put a link on the screen now that you can click on and learn more about that. What we're going to do now is preview that Kahoot that we've just produced. Okay, so it's time to save our Kahoot now. We've produced obviously 3 slides, one with true or false, one with the 4 choices, and of course this extra slide, which is not a question, it's just information that you can also add into your Kahoots, and that can be really useful. Now we can preview by just clicking on this button here, and we were on the 3rd slide, so that's the reason that's been previewed first, but we can click back and go back to the beginning, and we can see our first slide, and it also shows us how long we've set for each question. So the first question, for example, has 20 seconds. If you click on the next question, you'll see that you only get 10 seconds to answer that question. And then this is question number 3. Now we didn't write much text. We can obviously write a lot more text if we want to. Now, if we want to leave and exit the preview, we just click on that button there. It brings us back to the main page. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on save and just show you something. If I click on save, it's going to tell me that there's actually a problem with the 3rd slide, and this is really useful. I didn't put in a title, so what I need to do now is click on fix, come back, and what I can do now is just click and add a title in, and that way we will be able to save the Kahoot. This is a really useful that Kahoot does check for you whether you've done everything right. I'm going to click on save now, and it's going to bring us to a page now where we have to put in some details about the Kahoot that we've produced. So I'm going to write in a title. I'm going to call this London Kahoot, and I'm just going to call this one Quiz About London, for example. I'm going to click on continue, and that has now been saved. Now where can you find your Kahoots if you've saved them? That will be the next thing that we need to know. Notice that when you produce a Kahoot, this often happens, you get kind of pushed onto a page where it's trying to advertise the fact that you can obviously pay for Kahoot as well. If that does happen to you, and I guess it's happening at the moment because they've got a special offer, just scroll down and you'll see continue with the basic. Just click there. Now, let's have a look then at the Kahoots. Where can we access the Kahoots that we've created? Well, that's very simple. We just need to go over to our library, and that will show us all our Kahoots. So I created a new account to make this video, and so you can see I've only got one Kahoot in my library. Now what I want to do now is start to look at some of the options. Obviously we can go back and edit the Kahoot again if you want to do some additional things to the Kahoot, but actually we can start to play the Kahoot now as well. So let's start by actually playing the Kahoot. So we would click on Start and it would open up this page. And notice then that suddenly there will be a number on the screen. Okay, so we're going to click on Got It because we know it's live. Don't do the team mode, always do the classic mode. That's the one that you want to work on. So click on Start here. The game will start and it will produce a pin number. And this is the pin number. Now the students will need to go to kahoot.it and pin that number in. So I'm going to show you now exactly what it looks like for the student. They need to go on their app, or they can do it on a computer, to go to kahoot.it. So I'm going to log in as a student. I'm going to click on kahoot.it and it's simply going to ask me for a number. So I'm going to put in now the number that the teacher has obviously given to us, or what we should be doing is projecting this either on the screen in the classroom, or if we're using something like Zoom, then sharing our screen so that the students can see that number. So let's just jump back to that number so that we can clearly see it. This is the number we need to put in, which is 114063. So let's go back as a student and we're going to put that number in, 114063. Click on enter. All we need to do now is to write in our name. I'm going to write Russell. Click on Got It, and now we will be in the game. Now if we go back to the teacher's view, you will see clearly that I am now logged in, and obviously the teacher will wait for all the students to join, and then when they're ready they'll click on the start button and the game will begin. Now we've obviously already gone through the process of the game. Remember that there are really kind of three things. First of all, the question comes up onto the screen. Okay, so let's just jump back and be the student for a minute, and we'll click on one of the answers. We'll click on perhaps that one. The student gets immediate feedback, and then the next thing that will come onto the screen, if we go back to the teacher view, when the teacher clicks on, so obviously you're projecting this onto the screen, so the students will be able to look at their iPhones or their devices and see that they didn't get the answer correct, but they will also be able to look at the screen on Zoom, for example, if the teacher is sharing their screen, or of course if it's in the classroom, they'll be able to see what or how many people got the correct answer correct, how many people got the correct answer incorrect, etc. Okay, the teacher then clicks on the next button and that brings up the score, and obviously in this game there's only one person, and then click on the next button and the next question will come up onto the screen. And if we go back to the student view, now the student will see, okay, I'm going to choose for example this option. Okay, and then again they got the answer correct. So remember, there's always two things with Kahoot: the device where the student answers the question, but also the screen that the teacher has, that the teacher always needs to be either screen sharing if it's a webinar, a Zoom session, a Google Meet session, or project their screen in the classroom so that the students can see the questions coming up onto the screen. And then of course at the end of the game it tells you who came first, who comes second, and who come first. Okay, in this case there was only one person playing the game, and so Russell is the winner. Click on next and it gives you a summary of the information regarding the game. Now it is possible to use other people's Kahoots. And if we go to the Discover section here, we can then obviously search, and I'm gonna just search for history and give you an example. And I'm just going to do a search and see what comes up. Now, not all games will be accessible. This one, for example, requires a pass. But this one here is certainly for free, World Geography. So I can click on that. And it would be possible in exactly the same way that I played a game before with my students to use this game here. So I could click on Start, and it will bring me exactly to the option to play the game. I can do the classic mode, click on that, and now the game would start, and just like before, a pin will be produced that then the teacher would need to share to get the students to access this game. So it is possible to use content that's been produced by other people. So just to point out, when you're working with Discover, if you scroll down, obviously you can search for specific content, or you can use some of these categories here, but you can also scroll down here and you'll see that some of them require you to buy them. Some of them you can start and use for free immediately. Now another interesting option, and I can show you this very quickly by going to Discover, and what we'll do in Discover is we'll use, for example, general knowledge, and we'll choose a game that is free. We can work with this one here, the United Nations. I'll just click on this. Now notice we can start the game here, but we also have a sign, and this is basically for homework or for self-paced study. And if we click on the sign, the difference in this particular one is that we can send a time when we want the activity to be completed. We can do things like randomize the questions, etc. Click on Create. And what that's going to do is it's going to give you this time a link, and you would copy that link and share it with the students so that they can access the activity. Of course, they also need the pin code. So you would need to provide both the link to the activity and the pin code, and then the students could do that activity for homework. Notice the information on the screen. The start date is today. The end date will be the 24th. You are able to change the deadline if you want to, or at any time you've decided that you don't want the students to have access to this activity, you can end now. Notice that as students do the activity, you will see how many students have completed, and you will actually get information about them by clicking here once students begin to do the activity. So for example, the student would have to obviously paste in the link and then paste in the number, and they will get access to the game. Remember, this one doesn't wait for the teacher to initiate the game. The student can work through this for homework on their own in their own time. As the students work through the activity, they will get feedback in very much the way that it's done in a live session. So here, for example, question 2 is coming up onto the screen. I just click on the answer that I think is appropriate, and immediate feedback is given to me. So this is why Kahoot can be really useful for homework. Just going to quickly run through this just to show you then what it would look like once the activity is completed. What does the teacher see? So notice now we can see that one player is completed. We can actually click and find out more about that player and find out what score they got. So really useful information. This helps us, for example, to get a really clear idea of where maybe we need to help our students. We can even go over to the questions and see what percentage of students got a question wrong or right. So using Kahoot for homework can be really, really useful. Now that information is also provided for any Kahoots you've done online with your students as well. So the reports are very useful because they provide you with details about the students' performance using the quizzes that you've set them to do. Okay, really hope you like that video. Don't forget to come over to teachertrainingvideos.com. Loads more free videos. You can find out all about my courses. Don't forget you can sign up to the newsletter, and there is that 14-part free video course in using technology in education. And if you scroll down to the bottom, you can also join me on my blog. You can also contact me from the website if you are perhaps interested in me doing some training with your organisation or with you as an individual. Thank you very much. I'm going to leave some more videos on the screen now of other educational games that you can play.